right. Hey, this is John Chen in the Ocean office here in the beautiful summer. Geez, what did I do? I presented earlier today. With the program is called Presenting and Selling Virtually. Great showing how to create the foundation of great presentations as well as and then how to elevate it. And the best part here is that we had thunder showers and lightning here in Seattle. That always makes for a fun virtual presentation. Luckily, I didn't have to lean on my uninterrupted power supply or any of the other things here in Seattle. What else is going on here? Oh, I went to the dentist yesterday. The first four cavities I've had in over a decade. I got sealants, and sealants, I guess what my dentist says, are a good thing. They prevented cavities for over a decade, and the good things getting ready for that. Now, the next one is really great. I'm excited. I got a guest here, and she really showed and says, I got a way to make conferences better. And I said, I want to see that. So here she is, the creator of the Deb method. Let's bring on the one and only Debra Eckerling. Debra, I have a dance contest. I'm like taking the clips of everybody who's dancing on the intro parts. I need a dance contest, right?
Well, if ever there's dancing at an event, I'm in the sizzle reel because, right? Dancing.
Do you have a signature mood? Like what I told my kids, right? There's like life tips. And one of the life tips is like have one signature dance move. So like, when there's a dance circle or something and you do it, people are like, wow, right? Do you know what I mean?
The world is my dance floor. So yes, and yes.
Yes, and yes. Wait, I have a dance floor here somewhere. Where is it? Oh, come on. I lost my dance floor.
That's like the worst thing to lose is your dance floor.
Is my dance floor, right?
Mm-hmm. I have more like a signature philosophy than a signature dance move.
There you go. There's it. What's your signature philosophy?
Dance breaks make the world better. So if you're struggling with something for work, take a dance break. If you look at the clock and you've been at your computer for 5 hours, take a dance break. If you're about to be interviewed, take a dance break because it will lift your mood and make everything better.
I totally agree. And what's your signature song for a dance break? I'm just curious.
Well, I'm a huge fan of Dancing Queen because dancing, ABBA.
Right.
The other song that I love is there's a song by Sugarland called Settlin'. So the main lyric is, I ain't settling for anything less than everything.
All right, we'll talk about not settling. All right, let's, for my friends who don't know who you are, Debra, tell my friends who you are and what you do.
I'm Deb. I know, that's funny, but I am Deb. I am the creator of the Deb method, which is my system for goal setting simplified. And Deb stands for determine your mission, explore your options, brainstorm your path. And it helps you set the foundation for your goals so you can soar because you can't get what you want unless you know what that is. So I'm the creator of the Deb method, but my other specialty is event outcome optimization, helping people actually get value, that old ROI and ROR from the events they attend, because it's so easy to go to an event and have fun and come home with nothing. Right?
Right.
So, yeah. But rhetorical, not rhetorical. However, when you set goals, not just for yourself, but for the event, you know why you are there and what you hope to come away from. And it's the balance of the networking and the educational goals. So I lead workshops, I do speaking, I consult, I help people get the most out of the events they attend, whether it's virtual, in-person, hybrid, because we're there. We might as well benefit from them.
Oh, it's a big investment. It's an even bigger investment now of time and resources, right? Because getting to a in-person conference is that more expensive, and of course virtual too. I don't think people have a goal yet. What do you call it again?
Event outcome optimization.
Yeah, EOO. That's what I've been calling it.
EOO. That's what I've been calling it too.
Oh, okay, we're on the
right
track. I know we kind of need ELO for like electric light orchestra or something like, but So how did you get into that event outcome optimization? I mean, when did you see that need? I mean, my coach made me do this a long time ago, but it is true. Like, less than 10% of the people at a normal conference have really done this. Like, have really kind of sat down and built a strategy. When did the light turn on to say that this is a viable thing for you?
Well, I need to backtrack just a little bit. So I've always loved events because you cannot reach your goals on your own. You need to meet new people, you need to learn new things, you need to be in front of resources in order to elevate the you that you are and the you that you're becoming, right? So I started leading a writer support group back when I lived in Chicago many years ago. And then when I moved to LA, I brought my group with me in essence. And it was all about, what are you working on? How can we support you? How can we celebrate you? And what are your goals for next time? So that's what led me to goal coaching. And I've been doing this for a while. And then in 2018, one of my clients was going, I do communications and project management work. And one of my main clients was going away. And I said, this is an opportunity for me to fully step into what I was meant to do, which is help people figure out what they want and how to get it. And because I hate SMART goals, I know we're going to talk about that later, but it is part of the story. My mom said to me, you hate SMART goals, why don't you create DEB goals? And my name worked perfectly with the system that I have been teaching because, again, all foundational. It starts by determining your mission. So this was 2018. Around the same time, I re-met an agent who I had met years ago. I was working on my book, The Deb Method, and he said, "What's your goal?" And I said, "My goal is to be the first person people think of when they hear the word goal." And he said, "Great, send me your book proposal. Let's get it out in the world." So the end of 2018, I first heard from Mango, who became my publisher. My book became Your Goal Guide, and it came out in January 2020. So 6 weeks before the world embraced change, before change was thrust upon the world by circumstance, my book, which is focused on helping people embrace change by choice or by circumstance, was released. So I spent 2 years being, okay, this cosmic pause is wonderful. It's the opportunity to think about your goals in your life and reassess, make a plan, and turn it into reality. And with events going back in person, so now there's no longer just an abundance of virtual events, it's virtual and in person and a hybrid. I kind of called back to my love of events because my system works perfectly amazing with events as well. So that is the short, yes, that was the short, long version of how I became to be me. And everybody I talk to, I'm getting this, Deb, you're right. I just spent a week at an event and yeah, it was fun. But when my boss asked me, how many leads I got, I had 3. It's not okay. I mean, I'm like merging several different stories to this one, but that's the crux of it.
Well,
People, whether it's online, they're spending the time, or they're traveling, they're spending the time and the money.
yeah,
It's all the energy.
yeah.
You want to get something out of it. So that is me.
The key here, let's go backwards to I hate smart goals. Come on, smart people, smart goals has been around forever. Apparently, you gotta love training, right? Some things gain traction whether they're better or not. What I love to tell people right now is sometimes your virtual platform choices like beta versus VHS. You might have another platform that's better technically, like beta was, but VHS is a thing that people adopted and are using, right? And so smart goals, I think, is one of those things that kind of people adopted, whether or not it's the right thing or not. What is it that you hate about smart goals that you think that Deb goals does better?
Well, a couple things. Not to the main thing is, no one who teaches SMART goals created SMART goals. So there are yes, I am a goal snob. Secrets out. That wasn't a secret, but it's true. SMART goals was part of a thesis by mathematicians. I don't even know how many years ago, but people glommed onto it, said, "This is great. I am a goal coach," or whatever it is they call themselves, and I teach SMART goals. Well, I think SMART goals is a tool, but that's what it is. It's a tool. It's a tool that helps people reach their goals, but you're not going to reach your goals if you don't know what they are. And it really starts with that, determine your mission. When you think about the life you want, what does that look like? You have to start there. Okay, you want to succeed, you want to use SMART goals. I'm not going to stop you, but start with that foundation and then you can build.
So, what's a critical aspect of Deb goal that's better than a SMART goal? Like, where do you start? Well, like maybe I should just ask what the D is for.
So the D is for determine your mission, and
Yeah.
there are 5 phases within the D. So it starts with visualization. Yes, I am a Californian transplant. It sounds very Californian. But when you think about the life, exactly, we're on the same coast, we're not that different.
West Coast, Best Coast.
Absolutely. So when you think about the life you want, what does that look like? What is that visualization? Are you on stage speaking to hundreds of people, either virtually? I used to say in person, but now I say virtually or in person with everybody, spaced out. Are you a best-selling author? Are you on the Forbes 50 under 50 or 50 over 50? What is that pinnacle for you for your life? And it starts there. And then if you want to take it a step further, you create some sort of visual representation. So again, you have a best-selling book, take a copy of the New York Times bestseller list, scratch off the #1 and put your name in your book there. Why not? Or if you're on one of these top person lists, get the current list, put your picture on it and your bio, and look at it. Look at what you are striving for, because it's hard, achieving the life you want.
Yeah.
But when you can see the possibilities that it can become a reality, that's the fuel, that's the motivation. So that is where we start. And then from there, you write your current bio because you need your starting point, and then your future bio in the third person present tense. So like you're writing an article about yourself, year from now, 3
Yeah.
years,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And from there, you can create your mission statement. Okay, what is it that you do? What makes you unique? How do you help others? And so for me is using my systems, my book, my methodology to help as many people as possible figure out what they want and how to get it so they can live a better, more fulfilled life and help others do the same. So very long, but impactful. You need to know your mission. And from there, you've got the motto. So my motto is goal setting simplified. So everything that I create, whether it is EOO or speaking on goals or goal setting simplified or whatever, it all goes back to goal setting simplified, because changing your life is challenging enough. The instructions need to be easy, so I made them really easy. So you need that foundation, and then you can grow from there.
Yeah, foundation. Yeah, the visualization piece is key, though. It's just well, one is most people you ask that question with is what do you want, and actually most people don't really have the answer. Like when we were producing, sometimes people, well, what do you want? I want a webinar. No, you don't. Now tell me what you really want. Like, I want to inspire people. I want to educate people, right? I want them to buy something. Whatever it is, that's actually what you really want. But people start with this, sometimes the actionary piece, right? Which is like, I want a webinar, when they really need to clearly state, this is what I want, and then let somebody else help them pick what the best pathway is for that. Let me go to virtual meetings and virtual conferences here too. So I would love to hear what challenges you think most people have, especially if you've been working with them, in their goals for virtual meetings. In other words, do they come into a conference with virtual goals? And if they don't, what do you commonly help them set goals on?
Well, it really starts with that first piece. And I was talking to someone yesterday about this. You're going to this event. Why? It's not just because your boss said. It is because your supervisor wants to get the most out of you. So it really starts there. And that's the question that trips everybody up. And again, why I think goals, I do things better, is you have to start. You cannot claim your goals for a conference if you do not know your goals for yourself. I was speaking at a writers conference earlier this year, and I was saying, okay, here's the dirty secret that the conference organizer is going to be really mad at me for saying, but I'm going to say it anyway. You cannot go to all the sessions. You cannot meet all of the people. So you have to play favorites and pick and choose.
Yeah.
And I had someone in the chat go, well, it's virtual. It's an evening conference, 3 hours. It was like Saturday, Sunday, and then the evenings. I can go to all the sessions. And I said, fine, go, enjoy. But pinpoint which of the sessions that are in alignment with your goals. So those are the ones where you want to take the most notes and get the most action items from. So if you go into it, oh, I'm going to learn everything, it's going to be great. And you know what happens, right? The notebook, the notes, or the flyers, or the whatever, they end up at, the bottom of the pile on the desk or the bottom drawer, and I also do not like virtual replays. I mean, it's great if you're organizing some sort of conference and you want to offer that. That's wonderful. But how many people actually watch the replays of the sessions they miss?
It's true. Like virtual replays is one of those things that everyone thinks they want them. They think they have value because people actually pay for them. And then the number of people who actually go back and do it, it's like buying a membership to a gym, right? The actual number of people who actually go to the gym is a very small percentage of the people who actually said that. And so I think that's what gives the value of live program. For attending that program live, there should be two things, which is you're getting that content right at that time, right? So it is unique, and that you should be able to interact. Or that program was different because it was people were physically there. Let me go backward into this, which is you've attended a number of probably virtual conferences. What has to happen for Deb to say this conference or this particular training is engaging? What has to happen for you?
For me, it's that networking piece. The host that's not only engaging the speakers, right, but engaging the audience and the encouragement. Put your information in the chat, connect with everybody. I love LinkedIn is like one of my favorites. If it's not one of your favorites, put it on your goal list to like reframe your LinkedIn, because that's where people are going to look for you.
Yeah.
You look at them, they're going to look at you too. So you want to put your best virtual foot forward. So for me, and I've been at events and I forgive some of the hosts that say, okay, keep the chatting on target. I don't want anything in the chat that has nothing to do with what we're talking about now. And I can see the argument and respect for it, as long as they have networking breaks that say, okay, great session. If you haven't shared your information, if you haven't made friends with the people in the audience, now's the right time while we're having a dance break, music break, whatever. But if there's no purpose, if there is no reason to meet the people that you're at the meeting with, and I'm not just talking about the speakers, but the other attendees, the sponsors, whatever, if there is no engagement or encouragement of the engagement, there is no point, because you can get information anywhere.
Yeah, I think that I love that you say that networking, right? Because education is supposed to be quote unquote the one thing. And although in a conference, right, those are the top two goals, education and networking. So they go hand in hand in some ways. I personally have found that I've done the best networking in chat, right? And the key here is it's not when I'm presenting. Right. And it's not when somebody else, I'm also not networking with the presenter, to be honest, because they're too busy. They're presenting. There's oftentimes, my personal view is I actually want the chat. I love it actually when the chat takes some weird left turn, because number one, I'll review it and actually it tells me that this audience might be interested in something slightly different. Right. And number two, it just says they're engaged because they're talking about what they want to talk about. And if they keep chatting about it, they're showing their expressed intent around that. So I should pay attention to it as opposed to, telling the class to like calm down a little bit now. And so, that's what's engaging for me. Because again, in the end, we're all adult learners. We want to go back into that part, which is like, as adult learners, for the most part, we kind of know what we want to do, so that we should be allowed to do it. So I think that, there are some things like that. But I love that you have the networking piece. I agree on LinkedIn. Like I actually have a button, right, assigned to my LinkedIn profile. So I can just say, and I do it in a friendly way. Hey, let's network, right? Here's my LinkedIn profile. Please share yours. Right.
Can I use you as an example? Can I use us as an example? Because we are really like the perfect example of networking at a conference, because that's really how we met.
That's how we met.
So,
Yeah.
Bobby Carlton, who was on your show just like a week or two ago, she's the founder of Innovation Women, and she posted that she was just interviewed by you and that you were interested in learning more about the members. And of course, I commented because I do that. And then the next day at the Star Marketing Conference, there you were, like literally the next day. And we were chatting, and I said, "Oh, what a coincidence." And I think you beat me to the punch of connecting with me before I connected with you. We had a chat. We talked a couple days ago, and here we are. But this is how we do it. Going into events saying, and it does not have to be, I want to meet John Chen, which, who knew that was my goal, but it was a goal that I achieved. I'm going to this conference. Let's see what I can learn from here, and let's see who I can meet. So it can be really very specific, or it can be, I'd love to meet 3 podcast hosts because I know I'd be a great guest for them. So
Sure.
you go into the networking, and people, if they host a show, they're going to tell. So it can be very specific or general, but going into it. And in the case of the Star Marketing Conference, I told you this too. It was a Saturday. I'm like, you know what? I've got a couple hours. And this was sent to me by our friend, Jeff Klein. I'm going to jump in because I am in that mode. Oh, that's the other secret. If you're going to a conference and it's optional and you're not in the mood, don't go.
Say more.
Right? Well, you kind of have, and I'm an extrovert, obviously, as are you, obviously. Apparently, there are people in the world who are not like us, and they have to like get their energy up just to go to events, whether I know it's a shock.
It's my Home Alone no face. Okay, yeah, go ahead. I got this one for you too. Wow.
Awesome. But if you're not in the mood to go to an event, it's really just going to be a waste of your time.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to be engaged. You're like, oh, I have to do X hours of continuing education for work. Fine, you have to do the continuing education. Again, there's going to be another event or 20 next week covering this. So I'm not saying pay to attend an event and bail. No. If that's the case and you are not in the mood, but you need to be there, set some sort of reward system. I'll go for an hour, I'll meet 5 people,
Yeah.
I'll get 3 action items. And then if you're not engaged and excited, leave. But you might be so motivated, you're like, oh, this is a really good, this is what happened to me with the one that we met on. I'm like, this is really good. And I was only going in for an hour or 2, and I was there the rest of the day. So,
oh, well, that's a sign. That's actually the sign of a great conference. So let me go backwards here and too, because I think there's something in here, like we could call it manifestation, or you could call it goal setting, or all these other things. Like the fact that you take some of your brain energy and decide, I want X or Y or Z for this, right? I know that the scientific part is what they call a reticular activating system, right? Like I recently bought a Porsche Boxster. So now like every time a Porsche drives by, I see it, right? And it's because you're paying attention. Like if you want to buy a washer dryer, right? Every ad for a washer and dryer will now come to your attention. You were seeing it all the time, but now because you have told your brain, like this is now important, I'm seeking this out, I'm going to see more of that kind of stuff. Then it starts to accelerate the goals. So even those who aren't all West Coasty, softy, touchy-feely, maybe like you and I are, right? I do think there's something that if you tell people, right, that you can get your results faster, that they're going to pay attention to. So I would love to hear, like, either what science you think is working there, or what great tangible stories that you have about people who actually set a goal and then actually something happened.
Oh, one of my best, most favorite stories is from an earlier client. And this is really how I went from goal group to speaking and coaching. Deb, you're good at this. Can I hire you? Okay. Literally for years, he had been trying to write a book. He had too much information. It was not organized. It was just all over the place. We got it done in 3 months, including him self-publishing it. Why? Because we started with What is the goal of the book? What is the information? Organize the information, set deadlines, set goals, get it done. And no, not everybody can write a book in 3 months, but you can write a book in a year. You have a couple hours a week that you could dedicate for it. But if you don't have that framework, then it's going to be 5 years later and you're like, wait, no, it was my goal from 5 years ago. It might be a not yet. That's a whole different tangent that no, we don't need to go down that one. But even with event goals, it's a matter of picking the 1, 2, 3, 4 things that you want out of it. And then you get that information. And when you're aware, and when you've got a good, strong community, especially on LinkedIn, but beyond it, of course, when you see the opportunities that are out there, when you are focused, you're gonna be, oh, I'm gonna go to that thing. Oh, wait, no, this one's good. Then you have to step back and say, okay, set some networking goals, which is how many things can I attend every day, every week, every month, and still get my work done, because it's also addicting. And I've had to dial back a little bit, because you can't, well, I guess you can work and talk all day long if your job is talking, but networking events, they take energy.
Yes.
So what I think is good is set aside like a day a week where you're not doing any events.
Yeah.
So that is your nose to the grindstone. Let's get the work done. And a couple days a week, maybe you do 1, 2, 3 events, meetings, calls, and you batch them. I don't think I answered your question. Do you care?
No, I think, well, what you said too, which was really important, right? As a book writer myself, what I love to tell people too is that I failed 4 times over the course of 10 years in writing my book. And then, it's so funny too, because I could have wrote it myself. Like I had all these ideas and ways to do it. But it was not going to a conference, an ATD, Association of Talent Development conference, where a guy came back to me and he said, "Hey, that was a great talk. Do you want to write a book about it?" And that became my first book. And it's so funny. It's like watching all those failed attempts, and it's the same process. It's the same thing. The second part, I think that you'll find interesting, Deborah, as a book writer too, is that once I got assigned the book, right, I actually mapped out between my deadline. It was like 6 months deadline. How many writing days I did where I wasn't working. So there's actually a real difference, because you can't really write while you're working on a paid job, right? You're splitting your attention. So I looked at that and then I mapped it out, and the book was called 50 Digital Team Building Games. And I decided, it looked like I had to write about 1.1, team building games a day. So sounds simple when you break it down like that. But here's the real key to the process. And I'd love to hear your experience as a coach, if you have something similar to it, which is about a month into the 6 months, I went back and looked at it and I was way behind. I was already like 8 or 9 or 10 initiatives behind. And I go, why is that? Right. And I looked because my writing days were overrun with work. And so I did something too. You already proclaimed us extroverts. I had to become the most introverted extrovert if I was gonna finish this project, Deborah. So I stopped attending, outwardly, networking events for a period of time, and then committed to this. And then I finally got on schedule. And then, what the great part of the end of the story for me, Deborah, is that I actually finished the book in 5 months, not 6. I was a month early. And by the way, publishers love that. they love when you're early, right? So I would love to, and so that's to me like even goal setting of getting the book, but then this miniature goal setting in between. There's some mechanics in there, and the most important thing for that goal setting is that it communicated to me that I was way off track. Like if I wanted to break this task down and make it easy, and then I looked at it, I just wasn't following my plan, and now it's going to be impossible. It's all going to get left to the end if I don't do something about it, like right now. So.
Yeah, I think I had 3 months between when I got the go ahead on my book from Mango and it was due, and I did most of the writing the 3rd month of it, because that's just the way it goes. You've got the deadline, you're going to do the work. I love the story. So I self-published 2 books, and then Your Goal Guide is the first one that was published traditionally. But my second book, Write on Blogging, 51 Tips to Create, Write, and Promote Your Blog, I took that from a workshop, and I'm like, this is a really good PowerPoint. I had done, my first one was called Purple Pencil Adventures, writing prompts from kids of all ages, because I had been coaching people on writing books, and I'm like, I need to like get one done. So I had that experience of it. But the second one, I was really, and it's the same principles. You know, what makes you unique? Why are you doing this thing? The book, the content. Um, and then, okay, how are you going to manifest it to the world? But it started in a very similar way. I'm like, this is a really good PowerPoint. Yes, PowerPoint. I use the word PowerPoint rather than slide deck. It's a good slide deck. I'm going to turn it into a book. Um, where was I? The thing with writing a book, the thing with doing any project, because my big thing is your goals, maybe it's changing your entire life, or maybe it's just doing one thing on the side that will in turn leak over and improve your life. But I am all about setting yourself up for success. So let's say you decide that you want to write a book. If you have a family, a full-time job, social commitments, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, books, you could give yourself all the time in the world. The book is not going to get written unless you look at your schedule, you dedicate time. I don't care if it's an hour or two a week.
Yeah.
And just do it. Oh, and I remembered why I went on the Write Out Blogging tangent. I was doing a podcast at the time. So my podcast now is Gold Chat Live, which is also the Deb Show podcast. But for a few years, the first incarnation of it was the Guided Goals podcast. I was not going to get my book finished while I was doing a weekly podcast. So I swapped the time. I put it on hiatus, ended up being on hiatus for 5 years, but you know, who cares? But the point is, the book got done. So I was able to swap out time for something else for a priority. And when you take the time for what do I want my life to be, and then map out the things that you need to do to get there, then you can see the path. And I'll add one other thing, if I may. So I did the D, so determine your mission, and then it's explore your options. What do I need to do to make this happen? And I've got like a series of exercises. I'm a huge fan of brainstorming and research and see what the opportunities are and what makes the most sense in alignment. And then B is brainstorm your path, which is basically write everything out, divide, conquer, set yourself up for success. Easy peasy, set your goals, do the things, turn the life you want into reality. See, goal setting simplified.
Simplified. All right. So here's a good simplified one, right? So, you know, if somebody has a virtual conference or even an in-person conference coming up, you know, what's the mini Deb version or the super Deb simplified, right? Because we don't have a lot of time. Like I'm gonna attend Ace Virtual Events New Era of Work single day conference next week. So I would just like, do you mind? Like, what would you tell a client to do? Like, what are like those first couple things that you would do that they could get more value out of?
Well, first of all, I love this question. So thank you for asking it.
You're welcome.
Welcome.
Yeah.
If you don't already have your goals in line,
Yeah.
start with what is your goal for your business? At the end of the year, what win do you want to have? You know, you don't even have to think that far in advance. It can be a little win. Great. With that in mind, look at the conference. What is it that you want to get out of it? Is it you want to learn something new so you can get a promotion at work? Is it you want to learn something new so you can start a project that's going to elevate your side hustle or business? Is it you want to meet 10 new prospects for your business? So start with that. And I say set a content goal, but also a networking goal. So what do you need to learn? And what do you want to learn? And what would be nice to learn? So to hear the information that way, but like to pick like you said 1 day conference, so pick like 3 sessions that you have to go to. And it could be the sessions of people that you want to meet, because that is a goal. And then you can connect with them and say, oh, I heard your session at this conference, and, you know, personalize the LinkedIn. Or it can be, oh, this is going to up my skill level of this. I'm going to find every session that's going to up level. So it's like superpowers together activate. So you go through the schedule, you pick the top 3 sessions, and then either pick people that you want to meet there, which again can be types of people, or
Wait,
just
now stop on that one for just a second because, all these online systems actually have really good search tools for this. When you get into a conference, quite often they're sharing all the attendees of the conference. And some of them you can even schedule one-on-one meetings with these people before the conference. And I can tell you on our statistics side that very few people use these features,
I
right?
know it's amazing,
Right?
right? Stalk the people, you know. The other thing that's really amazing is usually I've been playing this game for the last 2.5 years because I've met more people since the beginning of the pandemic than I ever could have met in real life. Is who do we know in common? I met a woman who was friends with someone I went to high school with and hadn't heard from in 15 years. I mean, you just don't know. Go on LinkedIn and see what connections you have in common, or on Facebook. And then it's not just, I heard you speak at the conference. It can be, oh, I heard you speak at the conference. I'm also friends with X person. How do you know them? And it's a different way of creating rapport. So you want to stand out. I mean, yes, speakers, we love our groupies. We don't have them, right? I mean, I'm sure you have a lot of groupies every night.
Yes.
You just seem like the type. But, every now and then I'll get an email from a stranger and be like, hey, Deb, I'm reading your book. It's really helped me. And I'm like, cool. Someone on the other side of the world not only is reading my book, but took the time to either do a post or send a message. So look for the people that you want to be fan guy or fan girl of. Find other ways to connect with them, but also connect on that. Gosh, it feels so trite to say, but I'm going to say it anyway. Connect on that human level. Find the commonalities. Oh, you're from a small town in the Midwest? Me too. Or do you remember this? So it's out of, and it requires a little bit more homework, but again, you've got the list of the people who are doing the things. Look them up, see what you can learn, and make genuine connections so you can develop better relationships.
Yeah, I love that. What I called this a long time ago, like 20 years ago, I envisioned something called digitally assisted living, where it's what Google Glass was supposed to be, but it never became. But now that we're on virtual all the time, so things I can do is like this, right? I can actually see us. We're actually you. By the way, I love this. You're broadcasting on your LinkedIn, and it shows over your profile. I never knew this, right? If you're running live, it actually is showing on your profile. And then, we have some common connections. So, Alan Nadachu, I met him, presenting at a conference, and he's been in some of my other trainings. So these are things where you can find that. And when I do requests, like if we're not connected yet, I do create connection, and I'll say like I met you on Zoom or I met you at the Star Marketing Summit or something like that, because I don't accept all my requests anymore because I've been getting spam requests. So as long as I know that I've met you somewhere and you're a real human being, right, I'll most likely accept your request. But those are like simple LinkedIn tips that are work better and faster now that we're here. Like at a conference, it actually used to be harder to get that to like do this connection and do it all on your phone. And it was, I don't know, like it just, people didn't do it. But now that I think you're all on computers, I think that's really the key. So let's look into the Deb scope. Oh, I just made that up. And what is the Deb scope see in the future, right? What's some things that either you're wishing for or that you predict are going to happen, whether it's in virtual meetings or like in the future?
My prediction from like pre-pandemic was more interaction at events. And I think that's going to continue to happen because even though people are in person, there are still a hybrid events as well as in-person events. But I think adding that digital element, even in the in-person events, to allow people to connect more quickly and develop the relationships, find the common ground. So I'm going to say my prediction is going to remain the same, but a little bit amplified. I would love to see events give more and more opportunities for attendees to have deeper conversations. The big thing at the beginning of the pandemic was the Zoom, where you meet people rapid fire and then everybody wants a 20-minute coffee meeting. That's all well and good, but actually I do drink that much coffee, but how many coffee meetings can you actually have a day? I think a better use of time is those smaller groups. So you have a group coffee meeting. You don't need to have in-depth conversations with everybody you meet in order to be able to say, this is what I do, this is how I help, and how can I support you? And this is how you can support me. So that's what I would love, is to have that ingrained in more, because it would be a much better time saving on the other end.
What I love, maybe, I don't know there's a term for it yet, but I think that hybrid networking needs to happen. And what I mean by that is, like, now that we have this hybrid that's actually working correctly, if there's more opportunities for the virtual person to actually meet the in-person person, right, who's meeting it like live at the event, maybe there's these relationships that can show up, like they can become a little bit of an avatar, or they can kind of clue people in what's happening on the in-person side. We have this new thing too, reverse FOMO. Have you heard of reverse FOMO yet?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, reverse
But
FOMO.
yeah,
Reverse
please.
FOMO is when the virtual is so good that the in-person people are fear of missing out what's happening on the virtual. And what's happening now is, like, the when the virtual is so good, such as, like, the chat is blowing up with all these experts in the world. The chat is actually sometimes more valuable, or as valuable or more valuable than the speakers, because it's people who are doing the exact same job. They're just like you, and they're giving real on the ground tips. And so, if you're not logged in as the in-person, person to the Zoom watching this chat, then, you're missing out. And so I think there's some parts in there I'd be really curious to see. Like, I have envisioned a world, Deb, where there's there's a coffee table, or there's a cocktail table, where there's a table of like 3 to 4 people, and then there's a video station. And that video station is a breakout room, so you could join it. And if there are too many people, you could go join another one. But you could talk to like 3 or 4 people. It's all mic'd and videoed correctly so that you can see everybody at this thing. And so therefore, you could actually do what this hybrid networking, and really validate and find a way to meet in-person people, not just virtual people, and have such a split. Does that make sense?
Yes, I love it. And you said FOMO. I think my solution is FOLO, fear of losing out.
Yeah. Yes.
You're
Yes.
spending all this time and energy, you want to get value. And that's what people need, even if it's like a little thing that you learn. And I'm sure you do this too. You go to events where the information, but even if you pick up one new kernel, it was worth the entire time. So to go, to be focused, but also to be open, to be surprised, and to learn new things. And I had another point, and it was really good, and it left my head. So when it comes back, I will. Oh, yes, I knew that was. That was fast. The other reason why it's really good to connect with the people that you meet at the different events is they may not be your client, they may not be your audience, they may not be your prospect. Everybody knows people. You've got connections and connectors, and the more people you know, the more people you know, because you have access to their tribes as well.
Yeah, I love this too. I've been reading a lot of Elizabeth Gilbert's part, and she just talked about how great ideas are just like what happened to you, which is they come to you and sometimes they're fleeting, right? And that, like writing a book too, if that book idea for a book comes to you and you don't pay attention to it, well, her ideas are actually like things, like they'll go to someone else. And so she actually said she wrote a book and then started it and never finished it. And she got distracted for 2 years, doing something else she did. Another one of her good friends, who's a best-selling author, actually wrote the same concept of the book, but without talking to her. Like, the idea jumped to her, and like it freaked her out, going, that is, like, she showed her all the manuscript. She goes, I had it all, but I never finished it, because she tried to finish it too 2 years later, and the idea had left her. Like, all this spark was gone. And so there is something around the ideas, I think, that's super important, that you need to make that conscious decision. Is it this idea I want now? And there's no right answer, right? There's your answer, which is no, like putting off your podcast, right? Like, I always wanted to be a podcaster. Maybe I'm done with that. I'm going to stop for 5 years so I can do this. I can become a book author.
Mm-hmm.
So I think those things are all super important.
It's a matter of looking at your life and doing the things that'll set you up for success. That's it.
Deb simplify. There you go. It sounds so simple. Why do we complicate? Yeah, like, share me with it. What I'll ask for two things. Why do people complicate easy stuff? And then the second one is then if people are listening to this, what's the one thing you want them to remember from this interview?
Why people complicate easy stuff?
Yeah. Why do people complicate easy stuff? I want to know.
Oh, let me answer a different question.
Sure.
What is the biggest challenge people have with figuring out their goals? Is they don't know. They are living a life that, let's say they got educated in one thing and they feel that that's supposed to be their career forever. No. Or they're doing something that someone else said, oh, this is really cool, you should work on that. Because people do that, right? Again, with the idea thing, maybe something comes out of someone's mouth and they get encouraged in the wrong direction. And the next thing they know, this is their life, but it wasn't the life that they wanted. Embrace it or start over. So
You should wear that right there. That's a t-shirt. Embrace it or start over. By the way, her other t-shirt when we were talking about is my whole life is like a pandemic Saturday. We'll talk about that some other day. Great quotes. That's a great t-shirt. I need one of those.
And I think it's great. I think I should add it to the Deb story, but it's true. You have control over your life. Stop overthinking and start doing. I know it's not as exciting as the last thing I said, but that's really the truth. You get, and I guess this answers your other question, what I want people to take away. It is your life. You get to have the life that you create. And by going to events, whether they're virtual, in-person, conferences, workshops, whatever it is, when you go commit to it, get excited about it, learn from it, meet new people, make the most of it, and enjoy it because it's supposed to be fun. So have fun. Well, I don't need to tell you to have fun because you know how. When we met, I'm like, you don't know this, but we're so going to be friends because there's so many things we both believe in, like the power of dancing and how awesome food is. But even more than that, we cannot get where we want to go on our own. And by going to events, we meet new people, we learn new things, we get these resources that better enable us to create the life that we want.
That's what I love. Back into the core of who we are as people. We're designed to connect, and events is around collection, right? We have been gathering in affinitum, right? So, no virus will stop that. Whatever, it might change its form, but we as people have this need and desire and find value in gathering. So I love that part. Hey, Deb, where can people find you at?
People can find me I'm at the Deb Method everywhere. And if you're watching this and we're not connected on LinkedIn, please drop a note and connect with me. You can also learn more. You can go to eventOutcomeOptimization.com or thedebmethod.com/goals, same place, to learn more about how I can help you get the most out of your events.
And I got to add this part too, by the way, there's a link in there for a conference. I'm going to have a conference on October 18th through the 22nd. And Deb has agreed to run a session the Friday before. She will help you, if you're coming to my conference, set your goals. Right. And so, try it out. We're on happy hour to be 5:00 the Friday before October 18th. Deb will be here. She's going to walk through this process, and we're going to check for results at the end, just because we really want to know. We want to know that, did it make a difference for you? Deb, thank you so much for hanging out today.
Thank you for having me. It was fun talking goals and dancing with you. And if you're dialing in, really, take a few. Can I give homework?
Oh yeah. Okay, great. Now we will assign homework. Go.
If you have not taken the time to do the visualization of the life you want, take some time, make an appointment, schedule it. And then as you go to events, look at that visualization and figure out, okay, what is it that I can learn? Who can I meet to bring me closer towards that? It will be a game changer for you.
And if that's not a game changer, why don't you just dance with me and Deb here? We're going to dance out the close. Thank you so much for joining us. Hang out here for another engaging virtual interview. Just watch the live schedule. And by the way, I'm putting all of these in a playlist. I'm this close to creating a podcast. I can't wait to announce the day I start a podcast. This one will be here. Thanks again, Debra.
Thanks for having me.
All right, we'll see you next time.
Don't we start people and keep old people? Show you got heart.